A horse is a horse. Of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course, that is, unless, of course, the horse is the talking Mr. Ed, something like that. Today we have Ed, the horse cremator, with us. I'm very excited about this. Who even knew that this was a thing? Me knows. I know now because I learned all about this thing. That is correct. Ed is basically a funeral director for horses and their families. So we are going to learn about that and get to know the process a little bit, and also see what else we can cremate in these gigantic cremating devices. Here we go.
From the farm that Johnny Cash called the center of the universe, this is the Jack Vale Podcast.
I like Willie and I like Waylon. You want me to ride? You gotta play some George Jones and Conway Twitty. Just keep it country cause I'm here, Billy. Like a little bit of hip-hop, give me some Man in Black. You can kiss my cash.
Today we have Ed. Hey, how you doing, Ed?
Yeah, really well.
Ed, you have a really unique. Oh, by the way, hey, Mac's here too. This is very cool. Yeah, Mac, really appreciate you being here. Mac is my co-host today, and hopefully, probably many days.
Yes, I would love that. That'd be awesome.
Okay, awesome, good. Me too. I felt like this conversation would be better with a couple of people asking questions, because you could probably think of stuff that I wouldn't.
I definitely have a different brain than you do.
To say the least.
Say the least.
Yeah. So, Ed, part of that is an age thing, maybe. I don't know.
A little bit of that, but I also think that you retain information better than I do.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Like, and you can research better. Maybe
Yeah.
that's not really like a skill. Maybe that's
I like
just
your
doing
boots.
it. Thank you.
Right? I know.
Little Georgia boots.
Like, did we?
Is that good?
You're right.
It looks
It's a totally
great.
different shade, though. I don't even know if it counts, because I'm like, this is mine. It is. Yeah, it's true. This is like more of a retro 50s kind of
Totally.
look, isn't it? Like
Yeah. You
mid-century
could go to the bowling
or something
alley
like that.
or putt
Yeah,
putt.
exactly.
Bowling alley,
Yeah,
I like that.
1955 kind of thing.
Yep. Barbecue shirt, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas you guys are just like country, legit. Like, I'm going to,
I had to go to Country Mac today.
yeah, I'm going to the cash farm. I'm going to look the part.
I got to start rocking the Ropers and Wranglers.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Ed has a very unique business, something I've never really thought of before. And why don't you tell us what it is that you do? And then I have like so many questions about it.
Yeah. So Tennessee Horse Cremation, LLC,
Okay.
is it's a horse crematorium. But the bigger part of what we really do is we go to people's houses and farms and barns to pick up the horses. And it's a full service. We do the pickup and then do all the processing and then bring the horse back home to the owners.
You take the horse, you remove the horse from where the horse lives.
Right.
Mac's already smiling over here. I don't know what is funny so far?
It's just nuts already. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I know there's cremation for humans, but we're getting a cremation for horses. I mean,
Yeah. Well, my customers are the ones whose that horse is really part of their family. And it's pet cremation over the last 30 years has just blown up.
So what was going on like before that, before this became a thing? Because this hasn't always been a thing, right?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, if your dog died, you buried it or threw it in the trash or whatever. But I mean, that's what people did,
oh God.
right? The vet just made it disappear. Who knows? But now cremation is pet cremation. Listen, Jack, it's not a joke. Pets are like part of your family.
I'm sorry. No, of course,
You
I
know?
know. No, I'm
Yeah.
only laughing at your
The throw it in the
The
trash
way-
comment.
No, it was even after that, or the vet just made it go away. I'm like,
I was a kid. What
There's
do
a
I
whole
know?
like
But
monster, like the veterinarian clinic that
we had a pet cemetery from when we moved. You know, that was
Yeah.
you
Oh
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Like we lived in by our house in Huntington Beach, there was a pet cemetery. And we always made jokes all the time because we would drive by there and the pet cemetery would be just absolutely filled with the most bright colored, beautiful flowers at every grave. And then one time I put a meme out there that was like a comparison of that cemetery with a human cemetery. Yeah. The human cemetery was completely like dry, like nobody's been there in years. But the pet cemetery, like everybody, 20 years later, people are still going to visit there. But I get it. First of all, I totally do get this because number one, a horse this is a big, like, I understand that they have like personalities and as a dog owner myself, like we went through losing our Sasha. That was really tough. German Shepherd. Only got to have her for like 5 years or something, I think. And she ended up getting a tumor or whatever. And the kind thing to do is we had to let her go. And that was really rough. And I get it because like I cried for like a week, you know? So you get very attached to animals. Yeah, I was just laughing about the make the dog go away comment because that's probably like back in the day, you just did what you knew to do at that time.
I mean, a lot of people still bury horses and
really, that's a big hole.
Well, it is, yeah. And so, Tennessee has a lot of rock. Some people call just because they can't bury a horse because maybe they're boarding, and the boarding facility doesn't want 20 or 30 or 100 horses buried on their property. It's not their horse. And some people just have all rock. So there's different reasons. But the majority is the just person that loved their horse so much. They just want like a memorial of their horse to their horse.
Wow. There's I just saw this the other day that there's another country. I don't remember where this was. Maybe it's in China or something. There's another country where they have like horse graveyards. And the custom thing for them to do is like they bury the horse, but it's like horse after horse after, like it's a whole entire horse graveyard. And they had to take pictures. They had dug this thing so you could see what one actually looks like, and you would just see the remains of horses like in a row.
Yeah.
So there's some countries that take it pretty seriously. So how did the cremating horses as a profession, as an actual business, how did that come to light or become
so I'm not, I didn't dream this up.
Yeah.
I was working at my career and I met a guy that owned a horse crematorium. And I was just, even before that, I'll tell you the truth. I was like 10 years from thinking about my retirement. And I just really started seeking the Lord. Like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to have 2 kids in college and I need to do something. And then it's like 7 years into this prayer process, I met this guy and he owned a horse crematorium. I almost fell over. I'm like, what? A horse crematorium? So anyway, we hit it off enough where I asked him, I said, listen, I will be your unpaid apprentice if you'll apprentice me. I worked for him for 5 years, part-time apprenticeship. And just really learned so much. And what I learned is this job, it's about the people. It's not a sales like cliche. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah. Just running the machine and stuff like that.
So how did you go from being curious about it? I imagine that when you first heard that it was a thing, you had never thought about it before.
Oh,
when you met this guy?
Not at all.
Wait, and what was the prayer you were praying for 7 years? It's a long time. Were you praying for something like in particular? Like, how'd you know that was the answer?
All. Mac, so listen, I was just seeking the Lord on what to do with my life. So I was a police officer for 30 years. And when you're in that job, you know, like when you're eligible to retire. And so I knew like my retirement was coming. I could predict the day 20 years ahead of time. And so I was just asking the Lord, like, what to do. I wasn't like on my knees for 5 hours a day, but just as it came to me all the time, just like really thanking the Lord that he was going to show me. Just more being in a thankful idea that, Lord, I know you're going to show me what I should be doing and what I can do for the next step.
And you knew when you met this guy.
Instantly.
Really?
Oh, wow. Really?
I didn't hear anything out loud, but in my spirit, I knew instantly. The Lord said to me, "This is for you if you want to do it." I'm getting a little shivery.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it was a lot of, I intuitively knew it was going to be a lot of work to set it up and start a business and whatever. But
What was it about what you learned from this guy or hearing about this? Do you think that, I mean, was it just randomly like you felt God speak to you about it? Or was there a genuine like point of interest where you thought, that sounds interesting to me?
no, it was the first thing you said. Like, I just knew in my spirit instantly, the Lord just said, if you want to do this, this is free. This is what I have for you, son.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like, I heard like a 10-minute speech in like a second. Where the Lord was just like, you've been faithful to me for years, and this is for you. I mean, listen, it sounds a little weird if you don't understand, but I was sincerely seeking the Lord, and he just gave me this opportunity.
How long did it take you to go from that point to get to like where you're actually starting your own business?
Well, because of COVID, it was like a 5-year process.
Oh, okay.
But I like was from that moment, I like came home, I told my wife, I'm like, I figured out what I'm going to do. And of course, it's funny now, I'm just in my 13th month being open. And now I'm finding out friends from home where we moved from. Tennessee is my home now.
Yeah.
I like to say you can't help where you're born, but you could choose where you're going to live. And I am like all in Orange. I'm just so enjoying it down here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'm finding out now, like friends at home that never said anything to me, but they're like, what? That's not going to happen. How are you going to do that?
People-
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
I
like,
was the only one
Yeah.
that like had the vision.
where are you from?
Connecticut.
Connecticut's
Yeah.
where you were a cop, were a police officer?
Well, so I was in the city for 10 years
Okay.
in West Hartford, but then I was a fish and game warden for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was, that's a dream job.
Fish
It
and
was
game warden?
mine. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's what, when I was in high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I
Really?
took the route to figure out how to get there. Top chain. There's like Texas Rangers and then there's game wardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So the game warden thing, was that the last 20 years of
Correct.
your 30-year?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was a fun job. If you want to, I could talk about black bears for like 2 more hours.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Did you know anything about horses when this became
No.
an option for you?
No. What I
mean,
knew
don't even
about
know
is
if that's
people.
a big deal. You just got to know how
Yeah.
big they are probably to get into this line of work, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as their size, or the only experience I had before I started my apprenticeship was dealing with like moose or elk or something like that. But that's really not. If you know people, then this is what the job is. It's people.
Yeah. What's it like when you, family, I'm assuming there's still a lot of families who like, they lose a horse and then they what's the word? This doesn't sound insensitive. Like they need to find a way to dispose, how do they handle the situation?
They're grieving through the process, but
Yeah,
they
but they have
also
to-
have a big problem to deal with.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So normally, if they don't have you, or even think of it as being an option, what do? They dig a hole.
Here's your options in Tennessee if your horse or cow or large animal dies. There's like 12 counties in Middle Tennessee that if you can get it out by the front road, they'll come and pick it up and take it to the landfill.
Yeah, so that's how I grew up in kind of in the country a little bit in California for a long time when I was a kid, and my grandma and grandpa had some property out in Northern California, and they had cattle, and so a cow would die, and then I remember being there with him one time, and he had to like go and I think he pushed it or picked it up with like some kind of tractor or something, brought it to the road, left it there, and then somebody came and just took it away. But as a kid, like I never knew what they did with it. I just knew it was there and then now it's not there, but I didn't really
Right.
understand
It's
it.
just
So that's what they
bound
did.
for
They
the
would take it to the landfill.
That's an option. You can bury a horse, maybe not in every county. There could be counties that you can't. Where I came from up north, like Massachusetts, you can't bury a horse. Long Island, you can't bury a horse.
So then what do?
Well, they call the horse crematory.
They go to the. Oh, okay.
And why can't they bury the horse?
Okay, so the thought is, and I don't know the scientific of it, but that the drugs used in euthanizing a horse can leach into the water system.
Oh.
That's what I was told. So whether it's right or wrong.
Okay, here's a question I have for you. So, is this strictly horse crematorium? Is it strictly horses, or I would think there are people who are attached to their bull, or another large animal. Would they call you as well? And
yes.
You can.
So
okay.
we can. The crematorium doesn't care what's in it, but the crematorium, it's huge.
What does it look like?
It's like a giant cylinder, let's say.
Oh,
But it's like 6 feet tall. So I get calls from potential customers that have a sheep or a goat or a pig or whatever, and I'm happy to do it. But I just explain to them, listen, the cost of just turning on the machine, you're probably better served finding like a dog crematorium. You buy pet crematoriums according to the pounds that it can hold. And so my machine is for 3,000 pounds. So every single horse, just when it leaves the farm, it goes in just like that. And so I can tell you through the years where I did my apprenticeship, we did an ox, we did a couple bulls, we've done llamas and sheep and different things.
Any animals other than horses since you've been doing it as a business?
So just I did my little dog.
What, your dog died?
Just in April.
Oh, really?
Our little one. Yeah, not the bulldog, but
and so you used the
Boston
facility
Terrier.
For that?
Yeah, I just
No
felt
way.
like I had to.
Boston Terrier.
Yeah.
I have one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great dog.
They are. They're spunky little guys. So yeah, it was his time.
Was that hard to do your own animal?
Well,
as opposed to like most people would take it to whatever,
I probably shouldn't say this, but think of how many dogs you've had in your life. Like I've had maybe 10 dogs.
Wow.
One of them has to be your least favorite dog. Like that's statistical, Jack. Right?
Yeah. No, you're right. I swear, I thought when you first started talking, I was like, maybe I just touched a soft spot.
That's what I
was
thought.
about to shed a tear.
No, you wished. Yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of
No,
wish.
if you were talking about Gunner maybe or Bo or someone else, but Jack, it was Jack was he was
Jack was his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was a good dog, but it was his time, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
anyway, that's otherwise I've just done mini horses, donkeys, ponies, and horses. Yeah.
Where's Jack's ashes now?
Well, they're still sitting on the counter at home. We were gonna bury him at home, and I was waiting for like my one daughter that lives in North Carolina to come home and have like a family service or something.
So Jack is special to your daughter.
Well, he was one of our dogs. I didn't not like him.
He was just your least favorite.
That's all.
Maybe.
Have
you ever had a least favorite animal, Mac?
I've loved all of my dogs the same, even the bad ones, to be honest. I would imagine that's like kids, but I don't know. Do you have like a favorite? Do y'all have favorite kids? No offense.
No, you can't. You can't.
You
have
know what?
kids.
I will say that, for me, like I mentioned that we had to let Sasha go. That was really hard. And at the time I thought, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It was a terrible feeling. But for whatever reason, I do know that you become more attached to certain animals. And I'm telling you guys right now, like if it was hard for me, Jake's nodding his head. I don't know if you feel the same way, Jake, but for me personally, because I've spent so much time with him, we have a dog, Archie, Archie,
Yeah.
sheep-a-doodle. I don't know what I did. That dog, like every day, I pray to God, please don't let this dog die. I don't know what I would do if that dog died. I'm just more. And again, it's weird because I was attached to Sasha. Like I was a very wonderful dog, but I do know what it's like to grow emotionally more attached to certain animals for whatever reason. Archie seems more like human to me. So,
I'll segue into one thing that as a non-horse owner, I could kind of maybe draw a picture for you.
Yeah.
As much as you love your dog, you could really, let's say you're really busy for a week. You could just kind of come in and out. As long as you fed him, he really didn't care. He sleeps all day. And as soon as you're ready, he'll be like, oh, Jack, you're back. Good. Let's go play. But horses, they need so much care.
Yeah.
And people that have horses, they spend so much more, like, let's say, interpersonal time with them than you do with your dog.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of the bond. Plus, they're like majestic and just kind of, but they do have different personalities, 100%.
I know, man. Chris and my son Chris and daughter-in-law Shanoa, they went to.
It's me.
Oh,
I'm just hoping it stops.
I just keep.
I don't know. I'm turning the ringer on.
I hear the phone.
I know it's probably a customer, but we'll.
Beep beep. Nobody
Right?
would have.
I've been like, Jack,
That's
what?
me. It's me. Yeah. Golly. Yeah. Anyway, Chris and Shanoa lived in this place out in the country, and right across the fence were these horses, and we would go and like feed them carrots,
Right.
and, apples and stuff. There's something about this, like you said, majestic, like this big, beautiful face with these big old like eyeballs looking at you. You become attached to a horse. I totally get it.
We had a farm near where we moved from, just a mile up the street, and so a couple times a week, really, we'd walk down with the girls and feed the horses and stuff. And we had a carrot farm too, so always had lots of carrots.
Perfect. Horses and a carrot farm.
Yeah,
That's what you need.
right.
Let me ask this, Ed. So what?
Yeah.
Why? So when I've lost family, whatever it may be, we do burial, and I've never even I know people do the cremation process, but like, what's the difference? Like, do you feel more closure in a burial or a cremation? Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it's just odd. To me, it's odd because I've never had a family member or animal be cremated. But like once you cremate someone and then people put it in like a jar sometimes or spread the ashes.
Right.
What's
listen, Mac, I think it's really personal. And I don't know. Because I was talking to my wife this week, just about whenever I die, I really don't care. If cremate me, bury me, spread the ashes, just don't carry me around for the next 50 years. Like, let it go. But that's like, I don't know.
Where do you think your family is with that? Like,
I don't know.
As far as hanging on to somebody's ashes.
Yeah, maybe I need to just tell the kids, like, bury me or spread my ashes.
Yeah.
I
don't think I've ever cared what happens to me either.
What have family members for y'all done in the past? Have y'all like cremated or has it been burial?
Well, I can only think of one family member that was cremated. Mostly everyone's buried. What about you?
All buried.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not a proponent or anti-proponent, whatever it is, to cremation.
You got the whole setup though and everything like on this. Like, didn't you get like some property or something? You put the contraption there and everything that you need, right?
Oh, this is a big deal, Jack.
Yeah.
Building this, yeah.
I remember you were still like pretty much in the early stages when you first started talking to me about it. How many cremations would you say that you've done since your business started?
Just roughly maybe 150.
150, Ed?
Yeah.
It's a lot of bodies.
Dude, that's incredible. I mean, it's incredible to me because I remember when we first started talking about this, like it was.
I was talking
literally
before
just a
I
handful.
opened. Yeah. I opened October 1st in 22, and it's just been steadily growing.
Okay, so let me talk to you about the like. This is really you're in the people business.
That's right.
Like, I mean,
That's right.
like you said, like it sounds cheesy or cliche or whatever, but but literally like, because people become so emotionally attached to their animals, you have to be a people person on some level, right? And know how to respond to their grief and stuff like that. Are you ever in a situation where like you go and you have to deal with people and people are just torn up and they're torn up?
That's probably half or the majority, more than half. Yeah. It's a lot of emotions.
Wow.
Yes. From whoever's there. And for me personally, I get like that little tugging your heartstrings when it's a young horse. You know, I've had a few recently, 8-year-old horse, 12-year-old horse, and it just, you could see they're like a healthy horse, except they have whatever the issue is, you know.
Is it always a health thing, or is there ever like some kind of I don't know what it would be, but some crazy like accident or something like that?
Well, I suppose it could be. It just hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
But it's usually a health, like there's something wrong.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of them that are just getting old, but they're, fine until they're not, or they get sick, or, it's like anything that gets old. Horses are very, they have a lot of issues that are challenging to deal with, digestive issues and their hoof issues. And some of them are just, there's no coming back from.
And when they die, so the horse dies and someone has to just leave it where it is dead, and then it's just sitting there for a couple of days, or do they call you immediately, or what?
Mac, come on. This
I'm
is
just
like a
and
class A
the thing that I'm
business.
still stuck on is the fact that you said one of the options is leaving it out by the road. Does it just sit out there for a couple of days?
Well, yeah, in that case,
That's
does.
and like birds and stuff don't get to it.
Well, it does.
That's
They do.
great. How do you drive? I mean, you either got to cremate or bury, in my opinion. You can't be leaving that thing out by the road.
Yeah, but I would think it takes time to, like, when that happens, probably I would think that some families aren't prepared for it, so they don't really know what to do. So it's going to take a little bit of time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a goal to get to everybody in the day you call.
Oh.
And it makes for some long days. Like week before last, I had to go to Memphis in the morning.
Wow.
And then I had two more calls came in throughout the day. So I ended up in Franklin and then ended up in Lebanon. It was a 16-hour day for me.
Wow.
And I was kind of happy there wasn't a fourth call. It would be, but we try to get to everybody. This is the best case scenario. And this is what happens maybe half the time. People know that they're going to be euthanizing their horse because they've been dealing with it, trying to get it healthy. And so they call and schedule with their vet and schedule with me, and I'll come next Wednesday at 10 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And euthanizing is like the process of killing the horse.
The vet gives it the shot and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking about. I was like, okay, does the horse just die, or do they schedule it best case? You come and pick it up. And what's the pickup process? How many people are with you? How do y'all get the horse?
Yeah.
You
Talk
put it in a
about that.
trailer?
Like, what is the process like? Because I've thought about that often, actually, because that's tough, and it's like, it's the same thing with somebody in your family, passes away. The people have to come to the house and they have to take the body away. And that's like maybe part of the worst part of it is watching that person that you love leave and what that process is like. So do you have to be like careful so it's not all, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause
absolutely. I
people don't
know
want to
exactly
see
what
that,
you mean.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have, my apprentice was great, and he just had a really good system that I've just copied. So we don't have to drag any horses.
Okay.
And so wherever the horse is down, we can get it into this harness that we have. And then we have a custom trailer that picks the horse up off the ground and it gets set down in the trailer.
You have some kind of a respectful way of doing it, so it's not harder for the families to watch.
That's right.
And are the families watching it usually when you do it, or are they just not
most of the
part
time? I would say
process?
most of the time. Yeah. Yeah, most of the
And
time.
then when you have, because you said one day you had to get, multiple horses in one day. Are you putting them all in the same truck?
so let me just clarify for you, Mac. Every horse is cremated by itself individually.
But you pick them up.
So we just run by the shop, get that one started, get the next one, and then we have like a refrigerated cold storage unit if we had to, put one in. But if we had 2 horses a day, it's just by the time you get the second one, the first one's ready to come out.
And do you think that makes it like you lost your dog and you had to cremate your dog? Before that, I'm sure you cremated horses. Do you think being around the cremation process so long before that, it made you like less sad? Or do you like, because that, I just can't imagine myself working in a place like a funeral home or cremation center or cremation place, whatever the name is. Sorry, I'm not the smartest, but a cremation place. I can't imagine seeing that process over and over and over again. Like it's got to be. Is it not like mentally? Does it not do anything to you mentally?
Well, so Mac, it's kind of, I don't know how it worked out this way in my life. I worked at a funeral home for a few years part-time when I was in my younger years, like
what
18,
made you want to do that?
20. I was on the volunteer fire department.
Okay.
And one of the firemen owned a funeral home. And so he always needed help. So I worked with him. And then I don't know if you get immune to it. Through 30 years being a police officer, I've dealt with so much just like tragedy and death. And you just find a certain place inside you to keep it. Like I could tell you really funny and amusing stories over a 30-year career. And then I have a whole nother group of stories that just aren't suitable to tell anybody. I don't even think about them. So I think I put certain things in that little space.
It's like being a counselor. I feel like you have to see all that like death or like that sadness. And then also the process of seeing all these families over and over again. Like, I don't know. It's just like the idea of death to me is I think it's wild to everybody, but you're around it a bunch.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, I know where I'm going, so I don't put any thought into it for me or mine.
Where do you think the horses are going?
I think there's probably a special place in heaven for horses.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah. All animals, do you think, or like specific?
Well, I don't know. Why not? They're all God's creatures.
Yeah, I've always wondered that,
Right?
dude. Haven't you ever wondered that,
I've
Matt?
thought about that. That's
especially when you lose your dog or something, you
Right?
start going, I wonder,
Imagine if you got all your dogs back at once, though.
Oh, dude, that'd be so much happiness just in that. Could you imagine? That'd be amazing.
You'd have a pack of hounds.
It's just a heaven full of horses and
bunch of white clouds, and you
dogs.
see your dog just going through the clouds, running towards you. The gates open wide, they're just coming.
Yeah, ears flapping.
yeah.
And they're better too. They're well trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Could you use your facility for you said you could use it for like a variety of like different animals and stuff like that. Is there like a certain permit you would have to use the facility for humans?
Oh, probably. I don't know anything about it. I would imagine there have to be. Yeah. That's got to
I
be
would
something
think that'd be
totally
different.
separate.
Yeah. I remember this is as close as I've I did a couple of prank videos with around a funeral home, and there was this guy in Southern California, and he owned a funeral home, and anyway, he was a fan and stuff, and he was just like, oh, you should do something with a casket. Remember, Jake, when we had the
He wanted you to.
This is too far.
and we had I know. We had a casket delivered to the house, and he came in a hearse. And our neighbors were like, what the, somebody died or, and I'll never forget that day that hearse, pulled up, and he was just delivering a casket. Cause I'm like, look, I got an idea. So he was going to drop off the casket to us for a few days so that we could use it in the garage. And then we put somebody in the casket, and opened the top and did this whole thing so that when the bug guy came to spray the garage, he would go to the garage and be like, whoa, and we just pranked people like that. We had a realtor come and all these people for different reasons. And it was so much fun. And then, and it was fun. There's, I don't know, there's always been like a little bit of a kind of a natural curiosity that we all kind of have about, death. And I think that's why for years, there's even if you go back to like the 50s and 60s, like even Candid Camera and shows like that were like doing pranks pertaining to like caskets. You see people taking one out of a hearse in a public spot, right? And then they drop it and something falls, And so this stuff has been going on forever. And so it was really no different than that. But after we did that, we had returned the casket, made the video, and then I went to the funeral director's place of business, and we went, and he had like this warehouse in the back of like where the chapel was. And I went back there and we were talking about the plan and what we were going to do on this particular day. And here's how the prank's going to work, blah, blah, blah. And I had a little form for him to sign. As I'm standing back there in the workspace in the back of the chapel, in comes it wasn't a hearse. It was like some kind of like a van or something like that. And the van comes in, drives in. I see the garage door goes up. The van comes in. Me and the funeral director are just talking, having a conversation about business. Here comes the van. Ed, like a couple feet from where I'm standing, a couple of guys get out of the van. They go to the back, open the doors. They roll this thing out, this cart, gurney or whatever. And the thing rolls right next to where we're standing. There's a body bag there on a table. I'm trying not to say anything. I'm like, this guy hasn't said one single thing about it, hasn't even acknowledged these people, because to him, it's just every day, no big deal. This happens all the time. I'm trying to focus on our conversation. Meanwhile, there's like somebody right here next to us in a body bag right next to us. I'm like, this is real. I don't know what to do. And so he sees the look on my face, and so he feels like he has to comment something. So he just kind of goes, it's Mrs. Sims. And he keeps the conversation going. I'm like, you're on like a name basis with this person? Like they just got off the van, but he knew they were going to get her, whatever. It was just like an everyday, regular thing. This happens all the time, many times a day. And I just remember feeling like this is so weird. Like to us who don't know anything about it, it's weird. I want to learn more about it and understand it a little bit better. But anyway, yeah, that's my story about Mrs. Sims.
R.I.P. Mrs. Sims, if you're out there.
Mrs. Sims, yeah.
Yeah, not the if you're out there. Sorry, just R.I.P.
She's definitely not out there, my friend.
But
yeah, her whole family is probably, and they'll see this.
I know she's probably a good woman.
She seemed like it when I met her.
Okay.
She's very quiet.
God. Oh God.
Apologize for that.
Yeah, please God, forgive us all.
Larry
here.
the Cable Guy shout out.
Ed, so I want to go back to this cremation process. Still have some unanswered questions. So horse passes away.
Yeah.
You go pick it up in the harness, put it in the truck, right?
Yeah, the trailer. Yeah.
Put it in the trailer. You take it back to the place, and then you're putting it in this machine. What does this machine even look like? Is it like, I imagine it's just this big box.
Yeah, what does it look like? What does it do?
How does it work? Like, is it just flames? Like,
okay,
yeah.
First of all, when we get back, we have the horse is in a sled in the trailer, and so with the forklift, we just lift it out and the trailer and set it on the floor, because we have to take the shoes off if it's wearing shoes. Probably only maybe 30-40% of the horses wear shoes.
What do you mean by shoes?
Horseshoes.
Oh, okay.
Horseshoes.
I was thinking, okay, yeah.
So because we clean the shoes up, and they're part of what the customer gets back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, let me start even back from that. Usually at the person's, let's just say farm, we cut off a piece of the tail. A lot of people want.
What do they do with the tail?
There's a lot of they make hat bands and jewelry, and some people just save it. It's like a little memento. Like they used to cut people's hair. That used to be a thing.
Okay.
Or a piece of the mane.
They cut the tail, or you mean like they shave the hair for the?
Well, so a horse's tail has like maybe 10 inches of bone, and then 3 feet of hair. So we don't cut the bone.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay.
So we just throw a ponytail on it, cut the tail off.
Oh.
Yeah. It's people do. It's just a nice remembrance. Yep. Or if you looked online, you'd see there's a lot of jewelry they make, necklaces and bracelets, and things like that too.
I actually did not. I don't think I knew that people cut the deceased people hair.
That used to be a really
Really?
popular thing.
And just like keep it in something like as a memento or something like
a
that.
locket or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after we get the shoes off, we have to weigh the horse because the crematorium runs according to the weight.
Okay.
So we weigh the horse, and then it just gets placed right inside the crematorium.
What is it? A box?
Oh, so it's a cylinder, like
Okay, that's what you said.
yeah.
Cylinder.
So it's like you even could probably stand up in it. I
Oh, wow.
certainly can. It's like maybe it's probably just say it's about 6 foot round inside. Yeah. And then, I mean, the walls on this thing are like 9 inches thick of what they call refractory. So like the door is huge. It's really heavy. But anyway, once you close the door, then the machine is computerized. You just program it for how many hours according to the weight.
Oh, so it takes like a long time. It's not like, because what I imagine is there's just like, whoosh, and then
No,
it's like,
no. It takes between, say, 5 and 8 hours,
Oh, wow.
depending on the horse.
and so then you open it and it's just this pile of ash.
Then what do you do?
Well, so there's a lot of bones, and so there's a processing machine that we have that it's the same thing with people. They just say like make everything into ash, take whatever. The only thing left is bones and ash,
Okay.
and so the bones just get kind of compacted down, ground up, crushed up, however the process is.
And then like the ashes, they ground the bones up. The ashes and the bones are completely separate.
No, they're all that's
they're
the
part of
whole
the ash.
product.
Part of it.
Yeah. So when you're done with a horse, average, let's say there's 40 pounds. And so what we do is we package them in velvet bags, and they're about the size of a 1 pound bag of coffee. And a horse might have, depending on the size of the horse, 5 or 6 or 7 of those bags. Could be more or less. And then if people want an urn, then we put them in the urn. If they have shoes, polished shoes, we put them inside. If we have the tail instead of the owner having kept it, we, put the tail in, like brush it out and clean it.
What is
and
an
put
urn?
It nice. Well, like an urn for a person is like the vase or
Okay.
whatever you call it. But our urns, they're custom made in Tennessee. They're solid wood. They look like what's called a tack trunk. In every barn, you have a box at the end of your stall where you keep all your stuff, like your helmet and saddle pads and stuff like that. So they look like a tack trunk. They have brass buckles. In fact, I have one in the truck. But
How
you can
big?
see it.
How big? Yeah. Could you go get it
Yeah, I was
after
about
we're
to
done?
say,
Maybe
too,
in a
I don't-
minute.
Yeah,
I'd like to
maybe
see
when we're
that. Would
done.
you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
It's-
mean,
you can come out and see it. It's like
Okay.
50 pounds. I don't want to
Oh,
no kidding.
carry it around.
50 pounds. Because I was thinking it was like a little,
It's big. Anyway, then we return the horse home.
Does everyone want the horse to be returned, or is some people, do they just do it to get it out of the way?
Yeah,
I was gonna ask that
like
too.
98% of people want their horse back.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, a very few people don't. And then we there's some known places where there's a lot of trail rides and stuff. So we spread the ashes in like a
Okay.
place with a bunch of horses.
Oh, wow.
And just as a just commemorative to the horse.
Interesting. And you still, because obviously you had the crazy story about the praying, like the prayer. You find it comes up, and you're like, "This is my thing." Do you still love each and every day of what you do? Do you still feel
Oh my
passionate
gosh.
about?
I thank the Lord for my business every day and for every customer.
Mm.
Yeah, 100%.
And you feel like you touch them. So when you go to pick up the horse, do you feel like, obviously you said again, it's a lot of a people thing.
Yeah.
So when you go there, are you comforting these people a lot of times? Do you know, like, you saying the right things, or you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And yes, the answer is yes. So we have, I have like 4 corporate rules for our company. 1 is no one gets hurt. 2 is nothing gets broken. And rule number 3 is we only give 5-star service. So it's just,
What's number 4?
just that I got to think about what number 4 is.
I didn't think
The most important
I just
one.
wanted to hear number 4. Sorry.
I'll have to remember what number 4 is. I haven't written the bylaws yet, so
You ever showed up at somebody's house and it wasn't gone yet?
oh yeah, half the time.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, if the vet's coming at 10, I'm there at like 5 of 10 to help the vet, or yeah,
To help You're kidding.
no.
I'm surprised I didn't ask that question earlier. That's fascinating. So you
Oh,
show up
that's
a lot
my
of the
preferred.
time.
Yeah, definitely. If I could get this business where everyone was on a schedule, which is never going to happen, but that's like why I had my scheduling conflict, because I'm going to Birmingham tomorrow at 10
Okay.
to meet a customer because the vet's going to be there. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we want the owner to just they're there with their horse at the end, but we don't want the horse lying around for a long time.
Yeah, right.
that's-
For some reason I envisioned like these families like, oh no, my horse died. What do we
Yep.
do? Make a phone call. So a lot of these, you said like maybe half the time or so it's planned out so that you're able to be there. And so are you there with the veterinarian as the horse passes? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the vet's
When
job.
they have to
but
do the-
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
just
know, right.
offer whatever.
Oh.
Most vets, they don't need any help. They're very good at what they do, but I help out a little bit, or just, yep. So
Oh, that's oh man, then that's really got to be a tough thing to watch. You got these families who are like
know.
probably there watching it too, right?
yeah.
Oh
And
my
the vet, how does
gosh.
the process look? The vet comes in. That's got to be a hard job to be able to put down a living animal in front of the mourning family. Are they doing like a shot? They do like they put a shot in it and then it just goes. Like, how does that?
Yeah. So most of the time, and the horse gets a little like a shot before the shot. What do you call it?
Like a numbing shot or something?
Yeah.
I know what you're
As-
talking about. They did that to Sasha. They do a shot first that kind of
Just
makes
to-
it relax.
Yeah, they just calm down. To the
Yeah.
horse is just, calm down, and then the final shot is quick.
And it lasts.
that
What's the
happens.
timeline? So they put the shot in. The horse's eyes are open and stuff, and then it just.
It's just quick. I mean, I don't know, seconds,
Oh wow.
30
Jeez.
seconds, 20 seconds, 15 seconds. It's usually quick.
So and then it's the vet's job to decipher when the horse's heart stops beating.
Oh yeah. The vet stays and monitors that, and make sure
Yeah.
that everything is right.
Yeah.
Then that's when we would, take the tail or mane or forelock or whatever. And, it's different customers. They have flowers on their horse, and it's a big deal, especially people that are planning it. A lot of what happens with horses is they make it through a winter and you're like, this is a really tough winter for my horse. And in the spring, you're like, well, we made it through. But the customers know, the people know that they're going to end up euthanizing this horse before the next winter. Like it just is too old and weak to
I see.
go through it again. So they've had, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 months to know this is coming.
Did you ever meet anybody have you ever encountered anybody that you like kept in touch with after the horse left?
I've had a number of customers that have called me for a second horse, but outside of that, not more than just like a couple of weeks of, I get the horse back to him and, we have some texting back and forth, but not a lot. I do a few shows where I'll see past customers, like over at Miller in Murfreesboro.
You'll
They
do
have
a
horse
show?
Yeah, I was about to say.
What do you mean?
Set up a booth, just
Oh.
informational.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you bring like samples of like what?
We bring an urn and a lot of pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, just to show how the process is.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's nuts.
It is very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said most people hear about Tennessee cremation. That's how you say it, cremation?
Tennessee horse cremation.
Cremation.
Tennessee
Yeah.
horse cremation.
Yeah.
They hear about it word of mouth.
Mostly. A lot of my customers are referrals from veterinarians.
So you work with like some of the vets, and they know
Yep.
that you're the group they call. Do you have any competitors out there?
Currently, no, I do not.
Wow.
No. There was a well-established guy. Talk about the Lord's timing in everything. There was a well-established guy in Middle Tennessee, and they retired, a husband and wife, like about 4 months before I opened. And my phone started ringing, like, because I was advertising before I opened, and veterinarian offices were calling, like, when are you opening? And yeah, it's our market to take care of. We travel though, like I've been to Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky. So we're on the road a lot.
You've been in business for 13 months?
Yes,
right?
13 months and 85,000 miles.
Wow.
That's crazy. It's kind of crazy how like how it all started, how like God spoke to you and said, this is what you need to do, and you do it, and these people retired. You like don't have any competitive, like it's crazy. Just like you found there's an area here that had a need, and you're the guy.
Yes, yeah.
And your name's Ed too, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen Mr. Ed, but that's a pretty cool, the TV show.
I've
Remember
never
that,
seen
Mac?
it.
Mac doesn't remember
You've never
Mr. Ed.
seen it.
Oh, I thought you were joking for a second. I've never seen a show called Mr. Ed.
It is a theme song.
Do you look like that Ed at all?
No.
Okay.
Ed was
Okay, Ed is the horse.
Oh.
Yeah,
is the horse,
Mr.
yeah.
Ed is the guy's.
Yeah.
Wait, so Ed is a horse in this TV show?
In the TV
Yes,
show,
yeah,
Mr.
he's
and
talks.
your name is Ed, and you're doing...
It's a talking
Horse
horse. It's an
cremation.
old black and white TV show. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course, unless, of course, that horse is the famous talking Mr. Ed.
Right, which
Yeah,
has
something
nothing to
like
do
that.
with me. So
I know. It's just, your name just happens to be Ed. That's
See,
all.
I
You're
knew
in
this
the
would
horse
turn into
business
some
and-
kind of joke fest, Jack. And
No,
you know,
it's not. It's
Okay.
not. But that's why I had Matt, because I knew he'd ask like some legitimate questions.
Okay.
But that was kind of funny too. Some of his questions were pretty funny too. Like I'm still thinking about the visual of a horse with shoes.
I know.
Like,
I
those
will
guys-
say that was
I'm
a little
thinking
bit of a brain
these
fart.
Converse,
I know there's
the
horseshoes.
is like, what do you mean shoes?
I know. I did. And it's weird because I had that same... Like, I've seen a horse. I've seen the hooves and the horseshoes. Played the game horseshoes, all that. And and the thing I was thinking about is like, holy cow, like I seriously was thinking about like, do they have like little like stockings on? And I'm like, okay, horseshoes. Like, why didn't I even think about that?
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah,
But
shoes
it
on a
is-
horse.
Back to what Jack was saying, I'm fascinated by your whole story as well. Like, it's a cool thing. I mean, as a faithful person myself, like to hear that it's a long period of time. You're thanking God for a lot of things before they're even happening,
Yeah.
which I see people talk about at times.
Yeah.
And then it comes, and I've never, before Jack even told me, I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, we're going to be talking to Ed. And I'm like, what even is horse cremation? I've never even heard of it. I don't know what it is. And you're out here doing it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are that way too. I felt the same way. Like, so it's funny because like how you felt when I explained it to you, right?
Yeah.
Is the same way that Ed felt when he heard about it for the first time.
That's right.
And that's the same way I felt about it when Ed explained it to me.
That's right.
It was like, "What you doing? What are you talking about?" I don't know that I ever even envisioned what the process was like, nor did I really ask any questions about it. So to know that not only this is what you normally would do without this service, but this is an additional service because people are connected to their animals, and it all kind of makes sense. But it's fascinating, man.
And what is the biggest thing? So obviously there's had to been, difficult times running the business. What's the thing you think that you've learned the most throughout the process?
Okay. So it has nothing to do with horses. It's just learning how to listen to the Lord. I was driving back and forth to Middle Tennessee during that 5-year period. And I mean, there were times when things were just so difficult. I didn't know how I was going to get this done. And I'm like crying in my hotel room, just like thinking if I'm just making the wrong decision. And just when you hear from the Lord, you need to know it. And that gives you the strength to go on, to know that, well, this was the Lord's idea. So I'm sure he has a plan.
How do you know? So one of the challenging things for me, I'm sure you've encountered this too, Jack, but like for me, sometimes I pray and then I think, and it's like, okay, this is what there's a combination. Sometimes I think it's maybe what I want that I'm like putting in my conscious. And sometimes, like, how did you decipher what the Lord really wanted for you and what you wanted for yourself? Does that make sense?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Like, how did you know that? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, like, I really struggle with this is what God wants me to do, or this is what I want to do.
Okay, so we'll switch to a Bible lesson for a minute then, right? And really, it's you have to be in the Word, reading the Word for yourself and standing on scriptures. And if you know that the promises of Abraham are yours, that the cattle of 1,000 hills are yours, that you're above and not beneath, you're first and not last, you're blessed in the city and blessed in the country, and you get onto some scriptures that are promises to you, Mac, and once you understand that those are for you, then, in my opinion, what's worked for me, then when I'm standing on those scriptures, then I just get in a time of thankfulness. Lord, thank you. I know that you love me above everything. I know that I'm blessed in the city and blessed in the country. I know that I'm an heir according to the promises. I'm an heir according to the promises for Abraham through Christ Jesus. And when you know that, then you have something to stand on, and then you can be thankful. Lord, I don't know how you're going to work this out or what is in my future, but I thank you that you knew me in my mother's womb and that you have a plan for me. The foundation is the scriptures, and then thankfulness is like what turned it on for me.
It's crazy.
So it's easier. You're kind of saying that it's easier to hear and understand when you know that something is from the Lord because of that.
It was for me.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking to God a lot, then you know what his voice sounds like. You know, if I don't talk to you, Jack, for 10 years and you call me, I'd be like, wait, who is this again? But if you are talking to the Lord every day, you learn his voice.
Just kind of want to just end the show right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty That's pretty good. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tennessee Horse Cremation is the company. So if you have a farm, a ranch, and you ever need these services, pretty easy to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so tnhorsecremation.com is our website.
Okay.
And you can, I'm #1 Google search.
Okay.
Yep. And
Great. All right.
on Google reviews, you could see all my 5-star reviews.
tnhorsecremation.com.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That was a really
awesome.
really great conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That was cool.
Kiss my cash.